Okay, it's day 112 and it's part two, and there's some new breaking news about Campbell here. As you know, in the past, we've done a lot of shows about 75 days ago on Mark Lambert and the difference between Campbell being kind of more of a K Street guy. He's being represented by two K Street lawyers that work extremely close, like right across the street from him. More of a kind of an interface between Washington D.C. and the FBI, let's say, and the nuclear industry. Whereas Mark Lambert, being a Navy intel guy, knows all the logistics, knows all the nuclear science, knows all the languages. I mean, just really a deep expert in this whole trade. And we're talking all the way, the whole nuclear cycle, from the ore to the Krupnik crushers to the yellow cake to the spinning of the uranium in Paducah to the, making fuel out of it for the different Duke Energy plants, all the way to getting it to the plant, the nuclear fuel rod plant in Tennessee, to getting it into the Navy ships and electric boat at the shipyards in Mobile, and the shipyards in Wilmington, and the shipyards in Groton, Connecticut. So he knows the whole cycle, as well as when the rods come back from those different ships and how to bring them through South Carolina and then bring them up to Sharon Harris for storage, and then use of that MOX fuel for, hey, let's use this MOX fuel that has these plutonium for CANDU reactors around the world. Why do we want to store this? Let's use this nuclear fuel cycle. So Campbell being really kind of a bag man, I hate to say it, Lambert being the real expert. And this is where an informed public really can say, hey, look, I don't, you didn't give me enough detail with the John Solomon story here. There was some yellow cake that went to Europe and some yellow cake that went to Asia. That's not specific enough. You didn't give me enough information about what is this STX spinoff, this sport transport logistics. What is this? Why the soccer balls in Sialkot? What's going on there? You're doing uranium one day, and then you're talking about cake and soccer balls the next day. You're talking about NP cylinders going back to Piketown, Ohio. What's going on there? Don't quite understand that. So this uranium one story is developing. The second thing to support my theory that Hillary spent most of her time on these 1, 2, 3 agreements here is just looking at the NNSA and looking at the agreements and looking at the dates of the agreements and seeing most of them were signed when she was either Shadow Secretary of State in 1997 with Argentina, or with Australia when she was Secretary of State, Shadow Secretary of State with Brazil. CANDU is Canada becomes the kind of surreptitious partner. If there's a problem, there's no 1, 2, 3 agreement, we'll just start the program with Canada. And we'll take our national lab information, we'll give it to them. China, with Kerry being kind of a stand-in Secretary of State. Moving down here to the European and International Atomic Energy, these are kind of like brokers for anybody. They can take technology for Europe or Asia for our yellow cake, right? Now, India was signed by Bush, but then, as well as Indonesia and Japan. But then look at Kazakhstan, kind of comes in at the end, and that's where this megatons to megawatts kind of comes in. And they've been used to getting away with this. They've been used to branding this and having a person like Share Blue Media come in and David Brock and paint the pretty pictures, and everybody goes, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Take nuclear weapons and then make a nuclear fuel out of it. What a great idea. When in actual fact, something very different is happening at the ground level. And that's why I like the Mark Lamberts of the world that actually deal with it on the ground level. You could even see here that Morocco, scales up its program, and then Norway signs a deal the day before Trump. I think Podesta may have been in Norway during that negotiation right there at the end. And then, of course, the Russian Federation, while Hillary signs its 1, 2, 3, while Hillary is there. South Africa comes in with Mark Rich. This is the influence of Mark Rich. Switzerland, Mark Rich. I think there's a lot of reactors in Switzerland that we don't know about, buried deep beneath the hills there. That's Alan Dulles type thinking, as well as Taiwan and Turkey. So this really is where the money is, 1,000 times more valuable, I think, the HEU than the gold. Now here's the mixed oxide fuel, and the nice part about mixed oxide fuel, this could be coming from weapons programs, right? So it could utilize surplus weapons grade uranium, and then you can use it in these CANDU reactors, these fast reactors. Okay, so you could build those CANDUs in China, you could build them in Iran, you could build them in Pakistan, you could build them in India, South Africa, all over the world through Canada, and there you go, you're in business. And then you can sign the nuclear deal later on, the 1, 2, 3 agreement later on. And here's your CANDU reactors. And I think this, the partnership with Trudeau's have been, it's been a long time, not just the current Trudeau, but the father. They had a very strong relationship with the Clintons and a good business relationship. And again, you can use and leverage, if you insert yourself and infiltrate yourself into these national laboratories with an Awan type infiltration program, it really works well. And I think these dukes, these are kind of the insiders. They consider themselves maybe the knowledge dukes. And I think they have some progenitors that they look to and they go, oh, there was all those smart Nazi scientists. This is really celebrated. There's a facility I visited in northern France, which is the Peenemünde V2 rocket plant. It's incredibly automated for 80 years ago, really. Quite impressive. And then there's this kind of the bad boy of the bunch, this Nazi U-boat commander, the Wolf Pack. This is the, Navy irregular warfare under, 333 half evil, the Wolf Pack idea. And I think really the Dukes, if the Dukes had any attitude, it would be more like the Nazi U-boat commander kind of thing. Stealth, infiltration, etc. And then there's a good heap of Nazi intelligence thrown in there as well in this group, in the Dukes. This is where I think the FBI side of the Dukes is, not the Navy intel side, but more the FBI side, which is really the same thing, I guess. But man, this looks like Rod Rosenstein. Having seen Rod Rosenstein up close, I thought it was Reinhard Gehlen when I saw him. I said, that's not Rod Rosenstein, that's Reinhard Gehlen. And somebody said, no, he's testifying in front of Congress. That's Reinhard. That's Rosenstein. So anyway, but what the Nazis did, the intel did, was their strategy was, hey, we're not strong, in Africa as the U.S. or Britain, especially Britain, England. So we're going to develop these groups. We're going to leverage these current groups that are on the ground and to get the mining, get the land, get the uranium, get the gold, get the molybdenum, whatever they needed, right, for war. And isn't ISIS that exact same thing? Aren't the Awans really just an expression of the old Nazi modus operandi? Now, I'm not saying these current Dukes are Nazis, but there is kind of this Pax Urania. Through our intelligence and through our knowledge and through our brain power and through our knowledge of military and through our knowledge of intelligence, we're going to end up ruling the world through this valuable resources that's worth 1,000 times more than gold.